Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities, give you my financial opinion. We're going to go through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and then the commodities and ETFs that I follow. If you guys need any help with anything, you can sign up for finding-value.com and the Platinum membership. Use the word discount in the coupon code. And I can help you research in some of these companies. And I've got a lot of information about commodities, about market cycles, about the real estate cycle, all listed on that website. We also have a Platinum question and answer session at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Sunday. So let's dive in, give you my financial opinion here. We've got the dollar, the DXY. Again, this is just relative strength. We had a topping pattern, the little Batman guy here, and then we've come on back down. And right now we still have good downside momentum. The candlesticks are kind of contracting down here. And is it going to try to put in a turn, or is this thing going to head back lower again? Is it a consolidation pattern there? Tough to say. There's no real clear direction on this. I don't see any clear patterns either, so we're kind of just drifting lower at the moment. Today, obviously, it was flat. TNX up a little bit, so this is the 10-year yield. So the yield's a little bit higher today. We're bouncing off this support level. And is this going to go higher based off of crude oil breaking to the upside? We'll have to wait and see. But right now, today, 10-year yield's up 1.2%. Bond prices on the 20-year slightly lower today, down 0.5%. And is this kind of like a double top where we head lower? You know, I'm not going to go that far. I want to see more trading action. This has really just been back and forth action in this general vicinity. The 30-year yield, it's up about 1%. Again, we've just been bouncing sideways here in this whole area, kind of just aimlessly moving sideways. Is this a consolidation period where we will eventually head lower, or is it going to continue higher? That's anyone's guess. We have broken out of the big long-term downtrend line. It's a major breakout. But in the short term, we obviously could pull back more in the short term, or if oil gets aggressive enough, maybe it yanks interest rates up with it. So I think everyone's kind of in a wait and see mode. And what I mean by this is we could have something like a flag pattern just like this going on, where we have another flag pattern. Something on the lines of that could be happening. But we don't know for sure, and we're just waiting to see what this thing scribes out. The TYX to TNX ratio, let's go to the dailies here, down 0.22% today. We are on kind of a long-term supportish level area. Generally, when this goes higher, that means the curve is normalizing. Gold, precious metals like that. They like it when it normalizes. Right now, we're just kind of moving sideways. And it doesn't mean that we can't move sideways for a very long time. It moved sideways quite a long time back in the mid-2000s. So if we kind of go back to the mid-2000s here, we were low and we grinded sideways for quite a long time. We went from about 2005 is where this is, and then it went all the way to 2007 before it really started to come back up and normalize, so to speak. So it was down there from March of 05 all the way till July of 07 for over 2 years. And that very well could happen again, where we go sideways for a long time. And what that means is that the yield curve, it stays inverted for a while. And they pause the rates. And it could stay down for a good long time. Moving down to the CRB index. So the CRB index heading higher today, looking fantastic for a continued move higher in this CRB index. The CRB to S&P 500, it is heading a little bit lower. We could drop down a good chunk in the short term. The overall markets are looking quite strong. And we could see an outperformance of the overall markets in relationship to commodities. But this is a ratio, and we're just going to watch it and see what happens. It is still at a very low level, and perhaps we pull back and then we turn and rip it for commodities. So that's where we're at right now. I think what it's waiting for perhaps is maybe a little bit looser monetary conditions. Maybe not. Maybe the markets just need to normalize on higher interest rates, and it just hasn't done that yet. Gold moving slightly higher today, $5. It's not a huge move. It's still looking all right. I don't see any reversal candlesticks. Momentum's definitely to the upside. Everything looks good. Silver down 2%, but we basically came back to this support level. It did peek its head out and I don't know, just went blah, 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 right kind of below the trend line, but it came right back in, right to trend. So silver's still looking fine. It's still within the pattern. Platinum, slightly higher day, up 0.5%, bouncing off that support level, still looking just fine. XAU to gold ratio, slightly lower. We call this the bloody nose. So we had a big up candlestick last trading session with a little bloody nose. I mean, it's a green day. It's down 0.41%, but momentum is heading back up. And again, we still have to break out of this trend line. That's a long-term trend line that we're trying to break out of to break and move where the mining companies outperform gold itself. Hasn't done it yet. GDX basically sideways. Gold was basically sideways, so still looks good. Little bloody nose. And then SILJ also getting the bloody nose, just moving a little bit sideways today. Momentum is heading back to the upside, and we're right on support. Crude oil, basically sideways today as well. And, you know, we've got a little bit of momentum coming up. This can even come and do a back test if it wants to. I don't know the path. No one knows the path. But we've broken out of the trend line. It's a break. It looks good. And hopefully we can continue higher, grind higher. And again, the path could be down before going higher, or we can just rip it. Either way. Natural gas up 9%. It looks like it's trying to put in some sort of bottom. Give it some time. This thing has had a pretty strong sell-off from $9 onward, and it needs to base out. Don't be surprised if you don't see kind of, you know, a move, something like that, or maybe even it comes back a little bit further. But that's what natural gas is, and I think it's going to have a little bit of basing to bottom out here. XOP, yeah, you know me, up 1.44%. Still looking strong. We had a little bit of a selling pressure day here, followed by a bullish piercing, which generally heads higher, but this is all short-term play. Longer term, and that's where I focus, you know, it looks like we've got, I'm going to go on logarithmic here, kind of like a shoulder, head, shoulder developing, where we'll eventually break out and hopefully move much, much higher. But that is XOP on the long term, and I think we're putting in some sort of bottoming pattern. OIH down a little bit today. We've got some resistance through here that we're trying to work through. Looking at the dailies, we're back at that support level, right on top of everything. So that's actually pretty positive. I know that we've got, you know, a couple of bearish engulfing candlesticks here, but we're on support. We're up there. And it looks good on a longer-term perspective here, so we'll see if we can get moving. The Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, we are up slightly today, but really just tracking sideways in this general vicinity where the buyers equal the sellers. URNM heading higher today, up 1.32%, still looking quite good. We're coming up to this next resistance line right at about 37.20. If we close, I'd say if we close above 38 and hold above it, that's a definite breakout of this other trend line. Now, I don't have it drawn in perfectly. We can kind of tighten this thing up. And it depends on how you tighten it up. You can tighten it up to this second one, but you only have two contact lines, so weak trend line. Or you can tighten it up to maybe the top here, and you could maybe even argue that Depending on how you draw it in there, we're real close to a potential breakout. I don't try to get too perfect with my lines. It's just a general vicinity of where resistance is at. And if we break through and we close, $38 or so, we're definitely above that resistance at like 38 bucks. Looking at tan, tan also getting some pretty strong buying pressure. It's right on that resistance line. And, I've drawn it kind of funky here, but I'm basically hitting all these points in here. And I think that's right where we're at. If you back out, there's your trend line, and we could break here at any second. So that's looking good. We've got COPX down slightly. It's really just a sideways day. Everything looks all right. It's not a reversal candlestick or anything like that. We've had a pretty good run here from the bottom up, and sometimes we get reversal consolidation type moves. And the way that this is going up, we might even see a move back, back a little bit if it wants to, just like the way that it fell. So we've had a big run. It's not uncommon to get a little bit of a pullback before moving higher. We've had a pretty big run here. LIT is starting to heat up, moving up 2.7%, pretty strong finish. That's looking pretty strong, moving with the overall markets. We also, and you could, throw a kind of a candle guy in here. You could throw one definitely through here, somewhere in that range. But yeah, it's looking strong. REMX also looking and finishing strong here. If we back out, we've got a nice big bullish candlestick forming right now, and hopefully we can close the month strong. And this is bouncing off that support level here where we head on higher. SPX, the overall market, up pretty big today, 1.2%, and we're starting to flirt outside of the trend line. This is the trend line. We're starting to break higher. We want to see what happens tomorrow. If we get a big reversal candlestick, it could fail and be a false breakout. Right now, if we get continued buying pressure, I would say, you know what, we might be in the clear if we can get a good strong finish on a weekly close or a monthly close. The weekly close looks like this right now, and if we can finish up here, I think that's a pretty positive thing. And then the monthly close, it kicked me all the way back out. That's what the monthly looks like, and we're still playing with that support trend line. And on a monthly, we could obviously go down the last week or this, next few week and a half. We could always trade back on lower. So we want to watch and see what these things do. And this is the U.S. Composite Index. Here's your daily candlesticks. It looks quite strong, breaking to the upside here, separating from that trend line a good amount. Breakout, back test, and then a move higher. It's actually looking quite strong. On the weekly candlesticks, it looks very strong, like it's broken out. It's ready to move higher. A lot of the tech companies probably are moving quite substantially on this break. So I think we could see a move higher here. EEM also performing quite well, even with the dollar being slightly positive. And I think it looks fantastic from any time frame that you look at it. Broken downtrend, and we're starting to move higher. This is a new uptrend. The first step is to break the downtrend. The second is a higher low. The third is to break a higher high. And we've done each one of these things. There's your low. It meets the qualifications for a new uptrend. So EEM is in a new uptrend. XHB, this is the Home Builders ETF, looking strong along with the overall market, up 1.3%. And if the housing market is so weak, why are the home builders putting in a double bottom and ready to break to the upside? Perhaps interest rates or mortgage rates may come back and support higher home prices, or just support the market in general, I should say. And remember, the thesis of the channel isn't higher home prices. It's the volume of new loans against new homes. So that's the thesis and inflation. So looking at VanEck Agribusiness ETF, that's also heading higher today, 0.3%. Kind of an underperformer in relationship to all the other assets out there, but we're right above support. Copper, up 0.15%, still on its relentless move higher. This thing has continued to grind on up. You can see that the bulk of the move was here, and then we've just been grinding back and forth to some degree with the buyers and sellers. We've got lumber also moving higher. This looks fantastic. We've got the green army all right here, no selling pressure. It looks like it wants to continue higher. There's a reason that the home builders are moving higher, a reason that the lumber price is moving higher. And I think that perhaps the housing market is going to kick back on for whatever reason. I don't know why the markets are necessarily. Maybe they think that mortgage rates are going to go down, which they have to some degree. And maybe they think that's going to remain at a lower level than before. But we'll see. We've got iron ore. We'll do the line chart here. For some reason, iron ore is not updating. I'm going to skip it. I know nickel also, I don't think... Okay, nickel's got 0.4%, so it's basically just chopping sideways with slightly higher move. This one, it squeezed up and broke to the downside first for nickel. Aluminum down 7.3%, so a little bit of a selling pressure thing there. It still looks fantastic. We're right above support. Everything's looking fantastic still. We just have a large down day today. Baltic Dry Index also lower. We are right on the support level. Maybe we see a little false breakout and then a move higher. This is a falling wedge. We do have 1, 2, and then the third, which is this whole thing coming down and doing a 3-hump type deal. So that consolidation is probably pretty close to ending. We should see this turn around. Watch iron ore and some of these other base metals, copper, to see which way Baltic Dry Index might go. Newcastle coal futures also selling off a little bit. We're right on that support level. We'll see if that support level holds and if we can turn this downward momentum around. We also have Ethereum heading higher. We'll go back to the candlesticks. It's basically a flat day today, and then we've got Bitcoin getting a little bit of buying pressure here. So we've had a massive move in, we'll call it the liquidity assets. So maybe liquidity is coming back, and we can see it in lumber price and home builders and all that other stuff. So we've had a little bit of selling pressure in some of the assets, like aluminum, Baltic Dry Index, iron ore, I think iron ore was up a little bit. So we had a little bit of selling pressure, coal. But overall, quite solid performance across the board. Commodities looking pretty strong. Copper's a little bit overextended, perhaps. I mean, we've had some pretty big moves there continually. We could see a pullback at some point in some of these assets. Oil's still right there. It's broken out. Uranium's still doing very well. Precious metals still holding together for all the trading that's going on. So everything looks good. Now we just wait and watch this thing kind of grind on up. That's all we have to do. If you guys need any help, again, check out the website, finding-value.com, Platinum membership. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you later. This is Finding Value.